Hello and welcome to the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. Here we are on the penultimate episode of season 2 in 2025. Crazy. Now, as you know, we're all about all different aspects of how you can invest in property in a way that ultimately creates freedom. So everything from big picture strategy, everything about managing yourself and reaching your true potential, and then the real practical solutions. So today we're talking about how to make sure you do not abdicate when you delegate. One of the sayings that I like to espouse is that delegation by abdication is not systemisation. So we're going to be talking about more what that means. And it's myself and Dave talking about all of our lessons about how you get the right people working for you and giving your input in the right way to really create the machine that works and doesn't require your constant involvement. So many painful lessons along the way coming through in this episode that I really enjoyed recording. So without further ado, here is myself and Dave. Hello. Jackie and Dave here, another week, another episode. So this week we want to talk about delegation and how it links into the communication and meeting rhythms that you have with the people that you work with. Because I think there's like this perception of what delegation is, but I think there's a whole bit around delegation that if you miss it, delegation is much more grunt work for you to be able to implement.
Yes.
So where do you want to start with this one?
Well, I guess what is it as an overview that you mean by delegation? Just to clarify. And then I think we should jump into the pitfalls. What is it where do people go wrong with it?
Yep.
And then we'll talk about how to solve that.
So delegation is the act of passing over a task that you could do yourself to someone else.
Very clear. Love that.
Let's say
Very
into the Oxford English Dictionary.
straightforward.
So yeah, the act of asking someone to do that. And then what was the second part of your question?
What are the pitfalls? Where does it go wrong? A much longer answer.
Okay, this will be more cathartic. Okay, someone doesn't do it.
Yep.
They don't do it well.
Yeah.
They don't do it and they don't tell you that they can't do it and they got a problem with doing it and you think that they're doing it and then you eventually find out that they're not doing it. Or the person never actually delegates in the first place because of the concerns of all of those things.
I think you've missed one as well. They do it well, but they don't do it what exactly you wanted. I think that happens a lot more often than we realise.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So, so maybe we can go through each of those areas.
Yeah, and let's get the fundamental here. What's the point of delegation? Like, why do we want to delegate?
Yeah, why? You want me to answer this?
Want you. I'm the
what
quiz
person?
master here.
I'm just thinking I need some water. Get me that water and I'll answer that
Okay,
question.
you answer that question.
So we want to delegate because we cannot do everything ourselves. There is so much to do. Even if you just have a small property portfolio or a small number of deals going on, there is an intense amount of stuff to do. And we can't do it by ourselves. And if you try and hold on to everything yourself, usually the reason why you decided to invest in property in the first place will never become a reality, because we want to invest in property to ultimately be able to give ourselves more choice, more freedom, normally more time and location freedom. And if you hang on to doing everything yourself, you'll be working very long hours, you'll be chained to your investment area. And therefore, if you're doing everything yourself, you're not going to be enjoying all of it. Like some parts of it you will enjoy, but probably 80% you probably either will not like or will hate. How was that?
Yeah, great. And I'd say it's two things for me. Number one is no one I know starts into their property career with a plan to build themselves a job. That's the first one. No one really wants just a job of things that they don't really want to do. So that's the first part. So you have to delegate to make sure that doesn't happen. And on the other side, I think most people are starting their property career to build something that's really quite large. And if you do want to build something that's quite large, like you said, there's a lot that you're going to be doing. And the riskiest way to do that is to bury your head, to not do a load of stuff that you kind of don't have time for and just to ignore it, and then only do the things that grow you. So I would call that the marketing and sales approach to growing a business.
Yep.
Where you basically ignore your operations, ignore your financial function, and you really ignore your team part as well. You don't put time into those as much as you should because you too much to do, and you think it's going to be okay because you just ignore it.
It's a kind of hustler approach, right?
Hustler approach.
Like you're good at doing it yourself, so you throw yourself into doing it, you create all the opportunity, and you create a wave of chaos in your wake. One thing I was going to say, you said most people set out to build something quite large. I actually disagree with that. I think most people start out to build themselves 10 to 20 grand a month of income. Mm-hmm. And they are quite shocked by how much they have to ultimately end up doing to get that to happen.
You're completely right. Yes, people think 10 to 20k a month is going to be done on a certain amount of
because
property.
Those numbers are generally pretty rough and ready that people are doing. Oh yeah, no, I'm making £1,500 cash flow on this HMO. Yeah, but you're really not, are you, though? Like, have you got voids in there? No. Have you got tenant fine fees in there? No. You got management fees in there? No. You got maintenance in there? No. That's not £1,500 a month. And then you're like, okay, well, I thought I maybe needed like 6 or 7 of these, but actually I probably need 10 of these.
Maybe more.
Maybe 12 to 15 of these. And then also, you could have 10 to, that many of them, but then actually you don't want to do all that stuff, so you do need to hire people, so then you need even more to get to that point. So that is the actual reality. Like, you're going to have to get a reasonable amount of this done to get a reasonable amount of income and mean that you are not beholden to it.
Yes, not doing a job.
So what I think, like, what are you seeing in people?
Well, let's talk about your favourite saying. What is delegation by abdication?
Oh, is that my favourite saying?
No, it's not at all.
God, I'm boring.
What a boring woman. What is delegation by abdication?
It is where you have something, like, that you've got something that you need someone else to do, you've got too much, so you basically say, do that thing for me. And you throw it. Let's take an example. You're running a HMO portfolio. The utilities are too high. You need to get the utility bills down. You've got a virtual assistant who's working for you, and you say, my utility bills are too high on these HMOs. I need you to look into it and figure out how to reduce the price of it, the cost of it.
Go.
That was a hand throwing.
That's actually quite a small, specific niche job, actually. It's very specific.
But there's a lot of shit in there, right?
That's close to not being abdicating because you're actually in there deciding that. I guess you could go one step out and just go to someone, I just feel like my portfolio's not making as much money. Can you just figure that out for me? That's your job. Go. And hiring someone to do that who is maybe just a VA, for example.
Just a VA is a little... a generic
VA. Yes. I'm not saying just as in level of quality. I'm saying just that they're not a specialist.
Yes. And then it's interesting because until you've been through the journey of trying to delegate for a while, you kind of think that should work. But ultimately, let's just talk, like, that's just a...
I'm going to talk about what I think is the best delegation by abdication.
All right, go on then.
I'm going to cover this one.
Go on then.
Okay. Can you please just systemise my business? Whether you're hiring someone who you just hire an employee, as it were, a team member, and you say, all right, I'm hiring you, you got to create my processes, you got to set them up, you got to implement in the business, and just that's your job, go for it. Or whether you're going to even a company, you think to yourself, I've got these guys, they do process driving, creation, and you just say, okay, I want to set up a new lettings department. Can you just come and just create it for me? Set it up, just organise it, do it all for me. And the abdication part, this is the key, is where you expect someone to just go and do that. And you just leave them to it with no oversight and no management and no input. Right? Because actually you can hire someone to do these things. That's not the problem. The problem is...
We are business owners for a reason, because we have this level of seeing and understanding and knowing and how the whole picture fits together, and we are required in that process, not necessarily in a lots of hours way, but just in a, like, it is those couple of questions or those couple of ideas that you have that are freaking obvious to you that will not be obvious to that person. And I think also we kind of have to curate who is the right person for the job, and that's why we kind of have to stay involved and maybe see where stuff isn't quite working to be able to see who else we might need to bring in. And I think the process creation one is a really great example and much more exciting than electricity bills, because process creation is quite a structured, methodical, organised thing to do, and I think someone probably can come in and do I know someone can come in and do a reasonable job of planning all of that out and setting it all up. But that is not process. Like, that's not process done. Then you have to get people to do the process. And that's why I have all these psychology books about how to change people's behaviour, because then you have to get the people who maybe haven't had the process before to use the actual process And if they don't use it and it doesn't get maintained and doesn't get improved with how the business needs and uses it, it is a waste of money. It's a waste of time.
So in this scenario of
what
process,
do we do about it?
I guess for me that's the abdication. So let's talk about what is it when you hire someone, you get them to do your process. You know, the abdication route is to just let them do it, and then they come and present it to you at the other end. Here it is, I've made it all, here you go. And then you go, oh, that looks really nice, great, now go and make it implement in my business. And then they go off and try and do that. And the abdication part is the fact that you haven't had an input, you haven't had a regular meeting with them to check in on things, you haven't made sure it's going down the route you want, you haven't been part of the strategical planning for what it's got to do overall, you haven't basically brought yourself to the party. And I think that's the moment, you know, abdication is the moment all businesses fail, because it's never going to work. It just doesn't. And when you've got something complex and fundamental like process creation, you can't not be involved as the business owner, because it's your business, it's going to run under your remit, and no business is the same as any other. And someone cannot come into your business who doesn't know your business and make it and the problems you're encountering and give you a solution that's just going to magically work. It can't.
And it's just that ability to regularly be involved and just understand enough about what is going on to just prod and poke in the right kind of areas, to just be like, yeah, okay, no, I do agree with the direction that we're going, or actually no, I think we're missing something where we need to bulk that out, or I don't need to get so and so to come in who's got a real knowledge of how the arrears is working, so that they can feed in where their challenges are. And then also with process creation, it's not like you create the process and then it's done. You have to create it and then you have to roll it out and you have to pilot it and see where it works and doesn't work. And therefore, same again, seeing where it doesn't work is basically our job. Like, that's, you know, okay, well, why didn't I get that report when I thought I would? Or why was that a month when I thought it should be 2 weeks? Like, that is the process not working. So then we've got to be able to go in and just ask those right questions, prod and probe, and then suggest a new direction. And this actually does not take a lot of time, because that is the brilliance that we're all developing as the people who are running the business. But the problem is, our brilliance we take for granted, because to us that is easy.
That is a really key one. So we all seem to be so aware of our weaknesses, because everyone's often thinking, oh, well, I'm really crap at that, I'll just get someone to do that for me. That's a very common theme of a business owner, which I totally get, and just becoming aware of where you're not very good and that someone else could be better at it. And there's that book, Who Not How, that kind of espouses this and all of this. But very few people are aware of where they're actually excellent, and not just excellent, but what things come naturally and easily to them, which you take for granted to the level that when you give it to someone else, you don't even think
that it's hard.
That it's going to be hard at all, or even a problem for them, and you don't bring your own genius to the table. And your own genius might be the piece of the puzzle that makes it sing, makes it really work. Whereas someone else, because they don't have that, makes a subpar thing that really doesn't work because it was missing your magic.
And then you get annoyed because you're like, well, I thought this was easy because it's easy for me. You're an idiot.
This is obvious. Come on. Idiot.
Well, the problem is it's easy for us because that's our genius, and it is such a journey to go through this, and I think there's like a lot of layers to it, but obviously with all of this that we're talking about, like, awareness is the key. Just put into your, you know, drop it in there that there's something that you're great at that you can't even see that you're great at, and it's actually probably your biggest genius, because it's just like, it's just fun and easy and nothing to you.
Yeah.
So what this means then, in terms of how we have to think about delegating, is to ensure, at first it's going to be more you, because you know, if you've got a small portfolio, you're not going to suddenly have 10 people working for you. So it's going to be more of you. But just as the time goes along, you go down this journey of building investing in property, building a business, you have more people working for you. And I think where I'm seeing us more and more now, it's more like we're like this like seasoning. Like, you make a simple pasta without salt, it's really boring. Yeah. But like, you come in with the salt, the pepper, and suddenly it starts to be able to sing. So you've got to make sure that the seasoning is being brought to the table. Mm-hmm. Do you like that?
Well, the only problem with that analogy, which I do love actually,
okay,
pepper and salt.
I was about
to say, salt's better than pepper, so I feel good and bad about this. I kind of want to be the salt, but I think I am the pepper. The problem with this is you can still eat that food without the salt and the pepper, right? It does the job. The job of food is sustenance. And I fear that in a business, you actually can't even create edible food. I think you might end up with food that isn't up to scratch.
Like that pasta that my dad cooked once, where he just left it on the pot for like half an hour and it was mush.
Still did the job. It still filled us up,
It did not do the job. That's very low bar of doing the job.
But I feel like the problem with this is that it's one of the biggest blockages to people being able to actually have team doing stuff for them. Even not internal, even like external team as well. Like your letting agent, for example. If you just leave a letting agent to it, most of the time they don't do a good enough job, and they can't. But you've got two options then. You've got some sort of methodology of managing that letting team external better and helping and working with them to put in more robust processes between you to get it working, or bring it in-house and then try and do that yourself. Most people just think this is what they think. Oh, they're shit. That person's shit. I've got to bring it in-house because they're all crap. No, it's not true. They're not all crap. It's just they don't have the motivator or the process.
Or maybe even the awareness of that, because we can see what is most important because of the position that we sit in. But like, if it's the difference between like operating and managing versus like being the driving force behind something, you can see that if that property is sitting empty, this is a major issue. If that tenant isn't paying rent, like if they keep not paying rent, like the whole business is in a massive risk. Like, of course, people who are there operating your day-to-day, putting listings on Rightmove and responding to things and booking in maintenance requests, of course they can't see the big picture. It's not their job to be focused on the big picture. They're just trying to get the stuff ticked off the list. And we need all these people on a team, because if from our position of like bird's eye view, we can't do all the operational, so we really need these people, but we kind of need the blend of everything to make it work.
So what you've just described there is the levels of a standard company, right? Because you've got your operators, and then you've got your managers, and then you've got strategic level.
Yeah.
And the fact is that I think most people in early days in the business think that delegation is giving some new random person the full remit. Operate, manage, operate the role, manage yourself and anyone else who's involved, and be aligned and come up with a strategic guidance to make sure it's going to get where we want it to go. And you give one brief at the beginning, which is, oh, I kind of want this new thing, I don't want to do this because of this tiny bit of strategic guidance you give. And then you let them go to it thinking they're going to be able to manage all three roles. But most people aren't capable of all three roles. And actually it takes a very different person to be a good operator versus a strategic guide, which I think comes into that genius zone thing. You as the business owner are naturally inclined to understand the strategic direction of what's needed in the business because you're more aware of it all. And so even though you might not be a particularly strategic person, you are still better off at that, feeding that in, than the operator is. And so that, I think it's this three-level thing. And if there's more than one person involved in a job being done, there is a management element to it, and that person, whoever's given accountability to try and do it, does somehow need to be good at managing other people and getting out of them what they need out of them, and making sure everyone's on route, and actually then becomes a kind of almost project management element. And now we are just as guilty as everyone else from this, right? I've definitely given in the last year alone many full tasks to one person without...
It's not really necessarily designed to do it, but also it comes back to your genius zone thing. You're kind of like, well, this is quite straightforward. From your position.
From my perspective, it was obvious. Just do that. And just depending on the person, it never gets done, or doesn't get done in the right way, or doesn't get finished, or...
And I would say, and this brings us back to the crux of this podcast episode, where any time that hasn't quite worked for you, I believe the reason it hasn't worked is meeting rhythms.
Cool.
You would have got probably at least 50% of the way there if the right meeting rhythms had accompanied your request.
Yes, yeah. So let's talk about meeting rhythms, because this is it. This is one of the most powerful tool to getting delegation away from abdication and more towards, well, success.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Successful delegation.
Better saying for that. So, Attraction is an excellent book if you haven't already read it.
It sounded like attraction. So just to clarify, that was traction.
Tractation. And I think the author's name is Wickman. I'm sorry if that's not your name. I feel really bad about it. Now that I'm an author, I'm like,
Gino.
someone wrote this book, it's about focus or something. I don't know what her name is.
Sounds to a freedom,
Yeah.
focus. I think her name is JC.
JC, very bossy.
Is it Gino?
Yes.
Gino Wickman?
Yes, that's it. What they talk about in Traction, and there's Traction, and then there's also a book called Scaling Up.
Don't try and give the names. Give it elsewhere
Listen to
in
my
the show
tongue.
notes. Come on.
Fine. For me, a combination of both of those books, they are overwhelming but also brilliant. Traction is an easier gateway into this stuff, but the output for us and how we've done things from reading books like that has been the combination of the weekly level 10 in inverted commas meeting and huddles. So a huddle is a 15-minute meeting with a prescribed agenda. A level 10 meeting is a specific meeting format. And the idea is that ultimately every team in the company has a level 10 meeting once a week. And then the ideal version of this is that every single day of the week there is also a huddle. And this is the main infrastructure that makes everything work from a day-to-day execution basis. So the idea is the level 10 meeting is once a week. It's a longer form meeting where it works on a prescribed agenda, which is mostly around problem solving on the biggest issues that particular team takes. Don't let me forget to bring this back to where you start with this, because this is going to be huge.
Go. This is going to be huge.
It's going to be
everyone.
huge.
This
They're
is
going to be like,
huge.
I'm never going to have that. So every team should have this level 10 weekly meeting. And then a daily huddle where you basically say, how'd it go yesterday with what you were meant to do, what you're meant to do today, any concerns or blockages to getting that all to happen. And it basically means you create this kind of like heartbeat rhythm. These are like non-negotiable meetings. Everyone has to turn up. You have to have it week in, week out. And it's how information flows between the team. And this, when you are using it, we use Asana alongside this as a infrastructure to put the outputs of those meetings in as tasks for people, but it basically sets a routine that every week everyone is agreeing what they're going to focus on off the back of what the main issues are that team is currently facing, and then you have a quick touch point once a day to check in on that. So whatever you may be delegating, which may come up as part of that weekly meeting, there is this touch point at least once a week, if not once a day, to be moving that forwards, depending on the how critical in nature it is.
Yes, and I guess that for a lot of our things, if we have a project that we're rolling out of some sort, it won't be a daily huddle. It might be just twice a week.
And I guess that's why I say, that's the perfect view of it.
Yeah.
In reality, what that means for us, because we're not a team of 40 people or 100 people, there isn't this. Every team isn't this indistinct group of people, and actually many people are in multiple teams. That's the stage that we're at. So yes, it could be that there is only a huddle once a week and it's just like a second touch point. So maybe as context, what sort of teams are we talking about here? So for us, it could be deals team, investors team, projects, as in like developments that you're doing or refurbs, portfolio management, financial management. That's probably the most useful ones to...
Marketing.
Yeah, marketing, which could go part of your investor one.
It could be, yes.
Yep. So you've got to decide what that you're doing fits in what of these camps. And also, of course, if there's maybe like 2 or 3 of you at the moment, you can't be doing 10 meetings a week. So you might have to say, okay, so we're going to have deals and investors is one meeting. We're going to have portfolio management and refurbs is all going to be one. So maybe to start with, just having 2 meetings would be more than adequate. So yes, this is a journey to go on to roll these out, and you just got to start with what's going to make the biggest difference first.
Yeah. But I think that covers the over... I mean, you've gone big here. You've gone real big.
Sorry,
this is huge.
that is my...
But that's the company-wide. No. That's the company-wide concept, right? But actually, we do on individual project basis. So we have these kinds of rhythms around those as well. So I'll give rolling out a new process or a creation of a process. Let's go back to that one. So you're creating a process, you're creating a new software, whatever it might be. There is the rhythm to say every, month you might have a bigger meeting on it. And then every week you could have a huddle, and the huddle's job is literally to bring up the thing that you're creating or to bring up the visual of it and to talk through where it's at and what the blockages are. Done. This is what I did this week, and these are the challenges I've encountered. So that would be a great example. So a process, so say you're creating a new process, you have a week, you show it, you say, okay, I've just done all these things this last week, and this is the thing I'm struggling right now. That gives you as the owner the chance to feed into it. And then once a month, maybe you have a bigger meeting to decide what the next bit of process to create is how we're going to roll it out, what are the bigger challenges, right?
That's great. And you're right, like it's for the faster moving areas, you need to think about weekly, but definitely thinking on a wider basis. But I think the magic of this is, and the simplicity of it is, the recurring meeting. The recurring meeting that everyone honours is the power, because if you have a meeting to go to and you're meant to have done something, it's kind of like, I should really make sure I've done that thing before that meeting. And this is talking from my perspective as well, right? I'm like, okay, there's that thing that I need to go to. I've got to make sure that I actually get that done in that time. And it just creates this momentum towards a project. And as you say, yes, that opportunity to collaborate. And it is why I quite like this 15-minute huddle concept, because you can waste your whole entire life on meetings, and we've got to keep it concise and keep it really focused. And just using that huddle, it's not really in the way that is totally prescribed if I think about like traction, but it is a great way to keep the pulse going of the project or the new thing that you're trying to do. And I use it loads with the projects that I've taken. You say I do nothing for some of your teams. I do stuff. But when I'm starting something new where I know it's a massive undertaking and it requires lots of different people and my oversight, I will go, right, who do I need to collaborate on with this? What is my level of input that I'm doing on this, and what's my time frame that I want to get this done in? And therefore let me schedule the recurring meetings with people in their diary so that I know I can come in. And often people who are more in an operational role will really get stuck on something that to me is not even something. It's quite a simple solution, but that is because that's my genius. So therefore for me to be able to hop on and go, yeah, no, definitely, all you just got to do is in Asana, just go there and add this thing here, and then that will totally resolve that. And then it overcomes that blockage and it keeps that person able to move forwards. And that's that genius of having these, everyone has accountability to move their thing forwards, and it just throws up problem solving. And sometimes if people are stuck on a task, they don't even know really why they're stuck on the task. So by being hemmed into this meeting where they have to articulate how it's going, you can then probe and ask questions and see where the problem actually is and proactively overcome it.
Great. That's it.
That's
meeting
it,
rhythms.
basically.
They're pretty. I think they're possibly the most important aspect to being able to run a successful team. Full stop. More than process, actually.
I agree.
I think with good meeting rhythms, you can actually get rid of a load of process.
Yeah, you can be a little bit chaotic, but just about hold it together, which is why they're so important in fast growth companies, because process is never going to keep up perfectly. It's always going to be breaking. So therefore, as long as we have good communication rhythms, you can basically catch the most important balls that might drop. Yeah,
and continually adapt. And I'd say one of the most important things you've touched on in your description there is the what's the word? The people don't want to, but people do procrastinate accidentally.
Yeah. We all do it. It's human nature, right? Yeah.
And if you leave it too long before you next talk to them about it, they'll forget about it and they don't prioritize it because they've procrastinated on it, and they've just made a subconscious, not conscious, a subconscious decision to prioritize other things. We all do that. So the longer the distance between those meetings, the longer until they hit a moment of accountability to say, oh crap, I've got to talk about that. I better try and do something. And then they try and do something and then they work it out. And it really is, it just force functions prioritization. So you just regularly someone has to prioritize thinking about it and doing something about it, because they can't just keep turning up to a meeting going, I've done nothing.
Well, and then if they do, that's great, because that gives you that feedback to go, actually, maybe this is a different conversation that I need to have with this person, to just say, look, this isn't really working out at the moment. This is something that I was, expecting this you'd be able to do in your role. You can't do it. Is it because it's not right for you to do, or we just need to have a conversation that this maybe isn't a good fit between us? And it just forces you to keep an awareness enough of those things to be able to have those conversations when you need to. And it's that's just life. We're not meant to work with everyone, and just got to just be able to notice it and to move through it. And I think probably. So final thoughts.
Yeah, final thoughts.
My final thought is, this is all well and good, but I think the main place that people actually fall down is they don't show up to the meeting. And I don't actually mean the team member, I mean the business owner.
Yeah.
Because I would say business owners are generally a bit like you, Dave, that they're like, I'm very busy and very important. We joke about that with Dave.
I am. I'm very busy.
He's very busy and very important, and you know, whatever you're working on is the most. I'm being tongue in cheek here, but it's easy to go, well, what I'm working on is like really, I'm far more important. I can't go to this. The minute you stop honouring that as the business owner, you basically lead by example to say it's actually not that important.
Yeah.
And it's really 15 minutes. You can make 15 minutes to keep this project going that was clearly important in the first place. So you might be that you're doing this with your husband, or your business partner's your husband. Like, it's hard to honour these, but from the beginning, respect it and do it, because the minute you have a meeting in the diary that you don't do, and maybe you might need to move it back by a couple of hours because if something comes up, move it. Don't not do it, because that is the biggest place that this starts to fall down from the very beginning. Whoopah. Well, I hope we have left you feeling inspired and fired up to focus in on how you can implement some of our very painful lessons in your own teams and your own businesses as they grow. So this time next week, it is the final episode of season 2 of the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast, and it's just going to be me. And I'm going to be doing a wrap up of our 2025. What our lessons have been, what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, what we've learnt, and just some wider reflections on the property industry and the wider challenges that we see many people going through right now. Very different kind of episode next week. So I look forward to you joining me then and bringing this rollercoaster season, rollercoaster year to a close. Until then, have an amazing week ahead.